I'm ready.
You ready? Well, welcome to the studio corner, Cait.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Cait Leow,
Yes.
your full name.
Yes.
I like
Well,
it.
Caitlin Michelle Leow is my full name.
Whoa.
For all of those identity thieves out there.
I like it. So right off the bat, if I asked you, what do you do? What would you tell me? Random stranger comes on the street, tells you, or looks at you and says, "What do you do?"
I get asked this a lot at
Imagine.
work as a server. Because people are always like, what do you do outside of here? You're not just a server. I say I'm a musician.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they ever ask in more detail?
Usually, if they're
What do you
asking to
play?
begin
What do you-
with. Right, exactly. I always say I play violin, guitar, and ukulele. And that
Jesus.
ukulele is my main gig right now. And that I've been a vocalist my whole life. Singing, I think it's interesting that I don't say I'm a singer first because I am. I mean, that's my strongest instrument,
Yeah.
I think. It's what's come most naturally to me. I played violin growing up because I loved it, but I learned guitar to accompany my singing.
Yeah.
Same thing with ukulele, even though I love the ukulele.
Yeah. I remember we played a show together.
Yes.
I walked in, and I saw this girl with the ukulele by herself on stage. And I'm like, okay, I haven't seen this in a long time, and you freaking killed it.
Thank you.
I loved it.
Thank
was
you.
beautiful.
That was a stressful week for me. I had released a music video and I was moving at the same time.
And playing a show in Hollywood.
Yeah, it was all
A very hectic show.
Yeah,
at
it was
that.
a little hectic.
Yeah, that company is a.
I love working with them, but yeah,
No,
it's very organized, but it's also like it's a huge time commitment. You
the
have to kind of like
ticket
show up super
sales, all
early.
that
Yeah, all that
stuff.
stuff. And I appreciate it, but I also am like,
Well, it's also. It was hard to like grow with them. I did a year with them.
okay.
Like once a month, I gave them a year.
Oh
and
wow, okay.
And I kept, pushing for like, better spots because I was bringing bigger crowds, doing a better job on stage and whatnot. And like, there was just no room for growth or room to do something better. And I was just like,
Interesting.
I can't keep inviting people to drive all the way to LA from all these different
Right,
parts.
right,
and
right.
Paying for the ticket sales and all stuff for a 30-minute set. So
And you always play solo?
yeah,
Or
right.
with them you did?
Yeah, with them, yeah.
Yeah, I used to play with, or I first booked through them with a band a couple years ago when I first moved out here, and kind of kept up the relationship. But that was my first show back with them solo, I think.
Yeah.
And I've only done one other one since then.
With
But
them.
yeah, because of the ticket sales, it's like.
It's a little rough.
Once I got out of the bands, I was in this band that they always did the bringer shows, right?
Okay.
Comedians talk about this too, but like where you have to you have to sell 15 tickets or you don't play.
Pay to play.
And yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what this show was that we did, but they throw in like the photographer and like there are a lot of perks around it too. So you're like, okay, well if I don't sell the tickets, at least I'm getting some badass shots of my set. And
Yeah, they
like,
were really good.
Yeah, they were really
shots.
good.
I mean, they were really kind and really good, and I loved the
yeah,
guys. To
great
work with and
energy,
stuff. But
light, yeah.
I mean, I even asked them for like better spots and this and that. I was like, hey guys, and after a year, I thought I developed a better relationship so they could see that, and like I said, there wasn't any room for growth. But I actually told them I was like, I'm actually stepping away from live performing for a little bit. Working on some other stuff, studio stuff, this stuff.
Right.
And I got a response saying, "Oh, that's great. Contact us if you're interested." And I've received emails, calls, text messages about booking gigs since then. I'm just kind of like, guys.
I'd rather stay on their list and just say no every time because they
Yeah.
don't care. They just blast that out to every single person they know.
Yeah, that he's always on his phone, just blasting it out.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. It's nice to have a
Yeah,
promoter in LA
totally.
like
Yes,
that.
exactly.
Definitely
And
for
he
that.
does shows in San Diego, which is cool if
In
you want
New
to like
York
expand.
now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He's killing it. I talked to him at one of the shows, and he said he started homeless in his car.
You did tell me this.
Yeah, he
yes,
started
when you
homeless.
came down to Venice and we had our little
walkthrough.
yes, our little walk and talk.
So the ukulele.
Yes.
What drew you to that?
What drew me to the ukulele?
I mean, violin, singer,
Yeah.
guitar player, and then bam, ukulele out of nowhere.
I think I feel like ever since I was a little kid, I always knew I really wanted to be a performer. Like that's what I wanted to do. and my brothers and I all would perform together constantly. Like both of my brothers are multi-instrumentalists and singers.
Hell yeah.
And
family band.
the Leow trio.
Really? I love that.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
We have a Facebook band page. We haven't recorded anything in a while, but like we sang at my grandma's 90th birthday party last year, and anyway, but I miss them a lot. But so I grew up doing that kind of stuff, but my brother Aaron was always the one that got like the guitar for Christmas, or he got a ukulele for Christmas one year, and this was after I think it was when I was in college when he got the ukulele, because after he got the guitar the one year, I think I asked for a guitar the next year. I was like, come on, like Aaron's studying engineering, like, I'm the one in theater, like I want to play guitar. And in college my friend Chris and I switched. I taught him violin and he taught me guitar, so like
it's a pretty good trade-off.
It was a good trade-off. It was fun. It was I got the easier end of that for sure. Like you can't learn the violin in a couple months. It's really hard. But or at least learn to be good at it. You can do it, but it won't sound good. But I think Aaron got the ukulele, and I just had this like jealousy factor. That's what got me into it.
Really?
To be completely honest. So I got a ukulele the next year for Christmas for me, and I just started playing it, and it was so much easier for me. Guitar is just, I was so used to playing a 4-stringed small instrument that I didn't have to press that hardly down on the strings. And so ukulele is it has made me a better guitarist too. Just
Absolutely.
Like chords and stuff like that.
Those ukulele chords trip me out.
Oh, it's fun. I remember I had a jam session a couple years ago. I was in this, or no, it was when I first moved here. I was in this horrible play, and it was a nightmare. I won't get like that's a whole another. That's like literally an hour and a half long story. But I had a cast party at my house towards the end, and there was one night I got out my guitar and my ukulele, and this girl was playing guitar, and I was just like watching her hands and translating the chords to ukulele. Not thinking that was that I was even doing anything that insane. And this girl was like, whoa. And I was like, okay, I play both. So I'm just it's like different languages. Once you learn one language, it's easier to learn more. Once you learn one instrument, it's easier to learn more.
Yeah, you have that inclination after
that. Right. I mean, I think if somebody handed me a saxophone, I would have no fucking clue.
You're enough just to figure out how to blow into it.
Right. Make sound come out.
Yeah, I played the clarinet in 6th grade, and
ooh, clarinet.
Yeah, it was required at the school.
Oh, okay.
You had to choose an instrument, and I had a clarinet in the house. I was like, I'll go with that one, so I don't have to buy anything.
My brother James played trumpet because we just had one in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, just blowing into it and the whole technique with that, I'm like, man, I'm a guitar player. This is not what I signed. I'm not good at this. They wouldn't let me take guitar, so. But
isn't that weird? I think that's odd. That we did have one guitarist in my orchestra class in high school. He used to just like smoke blunts on the way to school as he rode his bike, and he would just sit in the back of our orchestra class because it was first period and just like noodle on the guitar. And I was like, that kid is living his best life. He has figured high school out.
Absolutely.
I don't know how he got hooked up with that. He was a really cool, nice, like respectful dude. So I'm sure he just like talked the teachers into letting him do that, but it was amazing.
Schmoozed his way in.
Yeah, he schmoozed his way in.
Lucky bastard.
And he got to go on like orchestra trips with us and stuff.
Yeah, that's been playing with an orchestra's got to be just so awesome.
Yes. That is something I do really miss. There aren't like casual orchestras you can join out here.
Yeah, it's like everything regarding orchestra is a very serious matter.
Right, it's a lot of practice.
There's no garage band orchestra.
No, you can't just like toss together an orchestra. But when I was in high school, I was in a program called Toledo Youth Orchestra, and we played with the symphony a couple of times.
Oh man,
it was so cool. Like, we would play where the symphony played at the Peristyle and the Toledo Museum of Art, and we'd all be like sharing a stand with a symphony player, and there was one time we played the Star Wars soundtrack, and I fucking died.
You just lose your shit.
It was so cool because it was like I was playing it, but I was also just like
you were playing
engulfed
violin,
in this
though?
sound. I was playing violin, yeah.
Do you ever feel the need to like move around and headbang?
Oh no, we always like. I was a very expressive player.
That's impressive alone. I mean, because it's so you got it in your neck. It's so technical. To be able to move it blows my mind.
Well, you're holding it with your jawbone and your like collarbone kind of, and I always had like a thing that helped to prop it up because I have a long neck, and also like the way I was trained to play violin was very body conscious, like almost Alexander technique, but not really. But it was very like the form, so you had to have your neck straight still. But when you go to like a bluegrass concert and that little old man is like crunched over, like
shit,
not even,
and
I mean, and they can still play crazy well, even though their positioning is horrible. But
or a neck brace when you're off the stage just to keep it straight.
Right. I'm like, but it becomes, the violin is just one of those instruments that becomes like almost like a third arm growing out of your neck.
Yeah.
Like once you know how to hold it, and I would walk around the house just having my violin just sticking off my neck.
That's good practice. I like that. It's
yeah,
good technique.
it was something one of our orchestra teachers when I was young told us to do, and so I did. Basically, I did whatever a teacher told me to do. So I'd walk around the house with my violin just like balanced underneath my jaw. So you can't once you're really comfortable with that, you can really express and move around, and the violin's not going anywhere. If somebody would have tried to snag it, I had enough. I could hold it there. Yeah.
Damn.
Under my jaw.
So
I had this big like hickey red mark on my neck. My whole middle school and high school. Middle school was way harder, but
when you
with
stand
my neck hickey.
with a strap with the
My
guitar,
violin
do you
hickey.
ever like feel your neck kind of just going back into the violin plays because it's
No.
weight on the same area? I mean,
No, I don't.
you don't.
No,
feel weird
it's
there?
more in my hand positioning is not right for guitar. Whenever I've taken guitar lessons, they're always like, no, they like try to move my hand so that it's like this
okay,
instead of like this.
All my technique regarding like form and holding it is all wrong. It's everything they teach you. I don't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I started when I was 5, so like I naturally had to figure out how to
Right, you just like
how to hold the thing, but every time I had a teacher tell me you got to hold the pick like this, your hand's supposed to be like this. I'm
Right.
like, you know what, man? I just want to play the damn thing, and this works for me, so I'm just going to continue to do this.
Yeah.
And like I see the guys, they have their like elbows super deep and their hands like straight.
And
parallel
honestly,
with the ground. Like it's, and I try that, and I'm just like I'm cramping everywhere.
Right. I get it, but most of the best musicians I've seen are like self-taught and do it whatever the fuck way they want to.
Well, especially it's one thing to learn the theory and the scales and all that stuff, but holding your instrument, like that's got to be the most comfortable place. Like you got to find, and the technique's definitely like 99% of people follow those things for sure.
Right.
But that 1% of people, like, don't take that into so much consideration. Really, like, be able to hold the thing, be able to play the thing, so you can freely express yourself. You know?
It also matters what you're trying to accomplish. Are you trying to be a classical guitarist and play flamenco or whatever?
Over
like
the top there, like
right,
this.
right.
Oh, it's nuts to me.
If you want to do that, then yes, okay. So you have to learn the proper technique. If you don't want to play in an orchestra, if you just want to play bluegrass music and be huddled over like a moonshine jug, then you don't have to learn how to play like that. Yeah. That's funny.
So the ukulele is your main act.
Now,
you write your songs.
I write
on the ukulele.
uke, yeah. But I just splurged on a new guitar. So I've been
what kind of guitar?
I got a Taylor.
Ooh, do you know the model or anything like that?
It's a GS Mini.
I was playing some of those the other day.
They're
I
fun.
am so in love with them.
I know, I died.
Well, you know what the best part about
the guy
Taylor
at Sam
is?
Ash, he like knew exactly who I was as soon as I walked in, and he knew exactly what he was doing when he handed me that Taylor.
Oh yeah.
He knew I was gonna buy it. Like,
well, because they're so affordable, but also Taylor is the only, at least I'm pretty sure, the only guitar company that their smaller guitars they use real wood.
Real wood. I know, that's why I bought it.
Like I almost
real
bought
wood
one
was
of those,
what I
those
wanted.
mini Martins.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh my god.
But
We
it was
must
like
have
the
had exact same
plastic wood.
experience.
It was like the plastic wood, and I was like, this is like I can move fast. But then you pick up the Taylor Mini, and I'm a Martin guy, 100%.
Right.
I mean, this tattoo on my forearm is based off of Martin.
Very cool.
headstock.
Yes. I can see it.
But when I picked up the GS Mini, that was like, you can't beat this.
You can't. The sound.
It's so big.
I know. The sound is amazing.
projects.
And my friend was with me, and she's not a musician. She's a comedian. And she's heard me play 1,000, like she's my number one fan. Thanks, Jules. But like, she even said, like, she could even hear it. like somebody without a trained ear could hear it. And I was playing between the Martin and that one, and the Martin was a little smaller, and I kind of liked the way it looked better. Like it looked a little bit more vintagey, which is kind of my whatever. When I'm trying to make my branding, it's trying to make my branding right now. Hipster, vintage.
I love it.
Yeah, so it fit my branding a little bit better, but the Taylor sounded so much better, and it was spruce. It's like real wood.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I have to get the real wood because it'll develop the sound will even develop more over time as the wood ages. I'm like, oh, I was like, I gotta get the real wood. That guy knew exactly what he was doing.
So my ultimate word in describing anything that's, especially in music, anything that's really good, if I use the word crispy, the crispy sound is just like, that's my thing. Like,
okay, that's
the ultimate compliment for me.
That's funny.
And when I picked up the GS Mini, I forgot which model I picked up the other day, but I picked it up and I played it and I was like, this guitar is fucking crispy.
It was,
and that's it.
For sure.
Crisp. Oh, especially recording, those things are.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, in the future, I'm not going to care about how it looks. I'm going to care about how it sounds.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's what
I beat the crap out of guitars. I have a very heavy hand. I've been kicked out of
I've
multiple.
Seen.
Yeah, I've been kicked out of almost every music shop I've gone into for playing too hard.
Really?
I went to Nashville for 10 days and I went to all the famous music shops, this and that, and they have so many great acoustic guitars that have been, especially old ones, vintage ones that have been over the years. And I forgot the name of it. I think it was Carter. Can't remember the name of the place, but I was in there and they had this huge acoustic room, and I was with my buddy, and I was picking up these guitars, totally in heaven, just holy shit, like 1958 Martin. I'm like, what
you're like smelling it,
and I'm just playing, and like 20 minutes goes by and I'm getting into it and I'm starting to play harder, and the guy that worked there walked in, and he basically told me, he's like, oh, you need to play a little softer, and I'm like, I've been doing this my whole life, like it's not gonna break, like they're designed for this. And then he came in a second time when I was playing another guitar, and he was kind of pissed, like, you need to play lighter. I'm like, at that point I was like, no, I'm just gonna play harder. Anyway, they asked me to leave, but that wasn't the first time that's happened.
So a man in your mid-20s.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just gonna play harder.
But no, I've been kicked out multiple times. And but that's the other thing, the minis, when I pick them up, when I play, like, I feel like there's a lot of guitars when I go smacking at it, I can feel kind of its weaknesses.
Okay, interesting.
It's got to be a little stronger for me, and like that one is so dense, it's like a fucking weapon.
Oh yeah, I love it.
I love it.
I love it. I loved it so much I bought it. And I was saying to the guy who sold it to me, I was like, I usually don't buy new instruments. I like to buy used instruments because I feel like it's like a rescue dog.
Well, they have character.
They have character. They have a history. Like, other people have used them. Yeah, exactly. They've been broken in a little bit. And he just looked at me like I was crazy. Like, here you are buying a Taylor and you're like, you're bemoaning the fact that it's not a used instrument. I was like, whatever. I like it. I'm still buying it. Even though
that's a good way to approach it.
I feel like it's not a rescue dog, and I wanted to get a rescue dog.
You went to the puppy shop in the mall.
That's right, I did. I went to the puppy mall shop.
It's a damn good puppy, right?
It's a damn good puppy. She's gonna win some awards for sure.
Oh my goodness! So, I've been following you on social media. We talked in Venice a while back. We played a show together, and you play a lot. From what
last year, I was playing out a ton.
So how do you go about getting your gigs? I mean, especially in LA, and as a solo act with a ukulele, I feel like that's just way more difficult to get a gig.
I have a couple promoters that like to book me for these small acoustic shows in bars. So, and I made a couple of those relationships while I was in that first band, and because sometimes that band would let me open for them, and then I would step in because I was the backup singer.
Oh, nice.
So
a lot of music.
I made relationships with those with those promoters and just kept them over the years. And even though they might do bringer shows as part of their, I only ever would do the ones that were for free, and like I could just have 5 people show up because.
So what is keeping a relationship with those people entail? Because
almost nothing.
Like, do you just hit them up from time to time, or you just only hit them up when you want a show?
I hit them up when I want a show if they haven't offered me shows. Like, a lot of them send me emails with lists of show dates that they have available, and they are all like small acoustic shows. And then I also get some traffic through my YouTube channel, and people will book me through that sometimes for like corporate gigs or weddings.
Yeah, you sent that little list of things.
Yeah,
I thought that was so cool.
I love the last one I did.
That's a good gig too.
Oh yeah, corporate gigs are.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
weddings too. I mean, it's crazy. It's one of those things where you really have to know your worth
Yeah.
because people are willing to pay you a lot of money
Yeah.
to do that stuff.
Is it mostly covers and stuff, or do you get to play?
Oh,
your own
it's all
music?
covers.
Oh,
It's all
okay.
covers, or like my own music. Like the covers I know are very similar to the music that I write.
Okay.
Some. I mean, I throw in a lot of pop covers for that kind of stuff because that's what people want to hear.
Especially at weddings.
Especially at weddings, something that they know, dance to, and I'm
Do you have
usually
to do
playing for
Somewhere
like
Over the
cocktail
Rainbow?
hour. Everyone always asks for that,
Yeah.
and on purpose, I don't know that song,
I
so
like
that
it.
I can
Good.
say I don't know it.
Good,
I always
good.
am like, I don't know it. I'm sorry.
Like, I don't know that. And they're like, oh, ukulele player doesn't know.
I
and then
know.
Bust out some badass original
Well,
music.
right, exactly.
It's like,
I'm
what's
like,
up?
I don't need to know Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Oh,
Not a massive fat man.
exactly. Well, and it's like that. If I did learn it, it wouldn't be his version anyway. It wouldn't be the
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the version you want to hear anyway.
I like that. No, it
so
shouldn't be. I mean,
right. I would. It would become my own anyway. So it's like, anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway. But the weddings, the corporate gigs are really fun. I usually pay for 2 or 3 hours, or if it's a wedding, I'll play for cocktail hour, just for the hour.
Nice.
And it's really fun. Weddings are super fun because then after you're done playing, you get to drink and
Yeah.
flirt
Mingle.
with guests.
So I'm not a huge fan of the word hustle.
Okay,
But
sure.
for the sake of what it's grown into and its meaning,
Yeah.
you are like the definition of a solo act hustling on every
Thank
level.
you. I
Especially when we
try.
talked that one day. I remember I walked away, I was like, holy shit. How is one person doing all this stuff?
That's so funny because I feel like I don't do enough.
Oh my goodness. Well, it was amazing, and that's why I was really excited to have you on, because I was like, I've done my fair share of shows and trying to promote myself, and there's so many musicians out there, call them the bedroom musicians that sit in their room.
Yes, I heard that on one of your last
Yeah, with
episodes.
Kirk, we were talking.
Yeah, I loved that. I mean, and when I heard that, I was like, oh, like I'm kind of one of those, but
But you're out playing.
I'm out playing. I meet. Then I
networking.
forgave myself a little bit. I was like, no. I was like, that might be what your YouTube channel is a little bit, but like,
Well, that's what YouTube
but
is
I do.
for.
I get
mean,
out.
for like those people, but it's
Right.
good to have all those platforms, but then to walk out and say, hey, I'm actually a real person. I'm
Right.
on a stage. Come see me, talk to me, experience me. Like, and that's the whole
Right.
point of the live show, is to
I
experience.
love
the
it. I
person.
love doing the live shows because you and I met,
Yeah.
or like I meet really cool people, and that's another way to get booked on more shows too. Is like somebody sees you and then
Hey,
they're
come open for us. or
then
something
they're
like that.
producing a show or they want you to open for them. I'm doing that in Pasadena in a couple weekends for a band that I met in August. But yeah.
So I imagine a lot of the time, because you're a solo act with ukulele, you're doing a lot of opening acts.
Oh yeah. I'm almost always, and
Do you
I'll
ever get
volunteer.
discouraged
What?
that you're always the opening act?
No.
I know for me, I was like, I got to a point where I was like, I'm tired of being the opening act. Well, I understand that bands, get the headlining or
Right.
just later on, but getting the call because you're the opening guy or the opening girl, like that. Knowing that, it kind of discouraged me a little bit, and I didn't like that I was discouraged by it. It's a gig, it's a chance to play.
Yeah.
But I'm curious on your thoughts on that.
I don't know. I think I usually I go to a lot of shows for the opening act.
Oh, okay. All
So
right.
I never mind being the opening act
You
because
appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
As you should.
Because I like the artist, the singer with the guitar, the singer with, I guess, ukulele, or just accompanying themselves and singing their hearts out. And those are the kind of acts that I enjoy and will listen to in my spare time or whatever. So I never really thought of it like that.
That's great. I like that. Glad to hear that.
Yeah, yeah, I never really thought of it like that.
Do you ever think to yourself, I'd like to be the headlining act?
I would like to be in a band again. That's something I do think about. I think one of my next projects I want to do is like something with a jazz trio. I want to kind of jazz it up a little bit. That's where
Hell
my
yeah.
voice lives best.
With just vocals, or
I would probably play some things like you can get
throw some
away.
ukulele in a
Yeah,
jazz
you can.
trio? God
Yeah,
damn.
yeah, it'd be fun.
Niche.
And I know a couple, and super niche. I know I'm the most niche. I'm still trying to find my people. But it's like, yeah, I want to work closely with other musicians again soon this year, just because I have gotten a little tired of playing out by myself.
Why did you start doing the solo act? Like, what led you into that?
Okay, so I was in that first band when I moved out here. So I moved out here to be an actress.
Okay.
I was gonna win an Oscar.
Well,
I
the
still
Oscars
could.
are coming up.
They're coming up. I'm nominated. No, I'm
Let's get
not
you on stage.
Well, I think you move out here and you think there's like one way to do that, right, or something, whatever.
Yeah.
There is no set path for anything that any of us are
not.
doing out here in LA creatively, as a career, and but singing, like, I don't know, but then Jennifer Hudson won the Oscar for Dreamgirls, and it was like, okay, well, you can be a singer and win an Oscar for an acting gig.
Oh, yeah.
Just by being like an open, vulnerable, emotional person. And when I first moved out here, I would really only book gigs that I was singing or playing something on. So any acting gig that I had where there was that sort of musical element to it, I would book it. And then I auditioned for this band. And they were this kind of like, they were a rock band. I don't want to say, I usually say pseudo-Christian rock. It's not Christian rock. We never like said Jesus or whatever, but the lead singer and the songwriters were both religious. The lead singer and songwriter grew up very religious, and there was definitely that element to it, and so did I.
You were taking that approach more into the band.
Yeah, well, it's not even that. It was, so anyway, I don't know.
It wasn't Satan music.
It wasn't Satan music. It was very clean and happy and upbeat, and like, I think that
G chord action.
Sure. I think that we had a good sound and that it was clean. I think that LA might not be the correct market. It's a very like Midwestern.
Okay.
I think people in Ohio would love that song. I'm from Ohio. And or like love that music.
Okay.
So anyway, I was in that band for 2 years. So I did they paid me for one summer to sing for their their summer concert series. and at the end of the summer, they were like, "Oh, well, do you want to be in the band?" And so I was like, "So does that mean I'm just not getting paid anymore?"
Is that what you're
yeah, that's exactly.
That was a very manipulative question.
That's exactly what it meant. And I joined the band, and I was in that band for 2 years.
You were singing in that one.
Yeah, just backup singing.
Okay.
They encouraged me to write. I always felt odd about writing. I was too scared to write songs at that point. I hadn't really written songs yet.
Okay. You hadn't broken into that scary realm yet.
I had written funny songs and like stupid stuff for high school, or like stupid stuff for theater in college, or things that I didn't take seriously. But
emotion.
Right, I never like delved deeply into like, I never wrote a breakup song or like anything like that. And so it wasn't until after I quit that band that I started writing. But I went through another band first. So I quit that band. That was like a rock vibe. And then I was in a folk band for a while.
Nice.
And then the folk band, which I was obsessed with. I was like, this is my ticket. I thought we sounded really good. And, it was fun vibes all around. I don't know. I liked the band. We would always, it was a folk band. Like we would practice, and then we'd like smoke some weed and like go out to the beach and throw the Frisbee around. And I became really good friends with the other girl in the band, and she was dating the bassist, and they ended up breaking up.
Already a problem.
Yeah, bad. They ended up breaking up.
It's been going on since the beginning of time.
I mean, this is the thing. Like, it matters who you
that?
are. It just matters who you are. So it matters what sex means to you, I think, is what that boils down to. Like Fleetwood Mac set all their differences aside and like carried on, kind of, right? They've carried on. They still play together, or like
not to, yeah.
Right, exactly. So like in my head, I'm like, Mad Bear can carry on. It can carry on. Like they'll eventually be able to be around each other and be in the same room, and like you do it for the sake of the band, man. And because I honestly believe that I have the personality type or whatever that I could separate that. I feel
Yeah,
like I could carry on for the sake of the band.
Yeah.
I've never had to try to do that, or like. But I honestly feel like I would be strong enough, or whatever you have to be, to carry on for the sake of the band to keep it going. But it's not. Or whatever. It's all situational. It would obviously matter on the breakup and what kind of.
I don't know. I feel like, like you said, it's how much sex matters to you, but it's also like how much does music matter to you? Because you already know what you're doing, regardless of type of music. What you're doing is diving into the emotional state of being. And if you bring your personal relationships on like what those, like dating someone into that sector, you kind of not taint it, but you kind of take away from the fact that you're able to sit down with other musicians and say, hey, this is what we're about. We're bringing something to this. And if you bring turmoil into it, the relationship might be fun, but there's just no room for that.
Right.
There's just no room for that in my opinion. And like I mean, once it comes, as much as it's not or shouldn't be considered business, it's business.
It's
like,
business.
You don't
I agree.
do that.
So I think if you aren't mature enough to know that if this ends, that we're going to just have to get over it like adults and it's business, then you shouldn't start doing it in the first place.
What also affects like future relationships, say bass player, and what did she do in the band?
We were both singing, and I was playing violin and ukulele, and she was playing tambourine.
So tambourine vocalist dates the bass player, right?
Right.
And they break up, but they're still in a band. They're spending all this time together, nighttime shows around alcohol. Like, say she wants to get another boyfriend or he wants to get another girlfriend. I mean, you can't tell me that that's not going to cause.
It's a conflict of interest, but
it's
again,
just constant,
it matters who you are.
For sure.
Like it matters how it ended. If it ends friendly, like their whole relationship was really tumultuous, so the breakup was really ugly, and she never wanted to talk to him again.
Jeez.
So the band broke up. And even though I think it can happen, and there are famous examples of it happening, and I think if I was in a similar situation, I mean, maybe not with him because he wasn't worth it, obviously. He was kind of a jerk, but like if it's and it's not like our band was famous and it was like we have to do this to make get the next record out or something. Do you think it'd be different
if you guys were like 4 records deep, label signed or whatever, you were successful?
I don't know if it would have been different because my girlfriend that I made from that band, she is just not like that. She's emotionally fire. She's a Sagittarius. She's like fiery. she can't handle that kind of like she gets defensive.
Okay.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people do, some people don't. And so she's the one who has to completely separate herself from that kind of a situation.
Yeah.
And, obviously most people are that way. I feel like me claiming that I could deal with it is me making some sort of like almost superwoman claim. Because I would say most people are like my friend, not like me.
Yeah, I mean, especially in music. I mean, it's not like you're, working at the same place. It's you're showing up and like, all right, I have to be as sensitive and vulnerable as possible, and I got to play my stuff. I got to be focused and be able to share an emotion with the people around me. And it's like I just got over sharing too many emotions. And I don't want to fucking even look at this person. It's like,
But so some really good music comes out of that. Or can.
Yeah, it can. I mean, maybe you guys became a heavy metal folk band, but
that's hilarious. But anyway, so that band broke up, and then she and I ended up doing a duo together.
Oh, nice.
And when that duo broke up, I was devastated. Like I thought that I just had to start all over again, and that's why I'm a solo ukulele act now.
Was it more I just don't want to deal with anybody else walking out on me, or was it like
I just had to figure out I still wasn't writing that much. Like I had started writing, but I didn't know what my voice was, so it was hard to even like collaborate, because I feel like my friend who I was in this duo with, she was writing and she has a very unique voice, and I was really drawn to that, and I was like, she's like the real deal. And so I wanted to also like go develop that part of my artistry.
I think it's important for anybody.
It's good. It's just like being single. Like you have to like know who you are. You have to figure out who you are. And it's really hard to do that when you're in a relationship with 3 people, like in a band, or with one other person in a duo, or it's good to be single for a while. So
Yeah.
now I'm through my ukulele single phase, and I would love to find some musicians to play with. But
So you found your voice, you would say?
I think I'm still working on it for sure.
Okay.
Like I don't think there's ever really an end to that.
But your main goal, I mean, is your main goal to be, performing your music, whether it's solo or with a band, or?
Yeah. And that's the other thing too. If I started writing with a band, like that's a whole other thing. I think I'll always be writing music for myself, like solo stuff. But
would you, say someone came to you and said, "Hey, Cait, we want to pay for a tour, a record label, everything like that, just you and your ukulele." Would that be like?
I would do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
you go for it, this and that. But would you have preferred it with a band, or would you prefer it with another duo? I mean, because I've been a solo act. I've played in a few bands. I've messed around. It's like there's just so many things that can go wrong. So many things that you consider before you really embark on a certain journey. So I guess I'm just curious because you have the ukulele. You have ukulele. You have beautiful songs, beautiful voice, and you're very, very, very capable of performing by yourself and having that act. And it's really, you spent like a year, doing that, and it's developed into something great. And now you want to move on to the next thing. Will you bring your songs from the ukulele that you've written into the next project, or are you looking to start fresh?
I don't know. It depends. It depends who I start working with. I know my friend who I've been talking about, she's mentioned wanting to play together again. Which I'd definitely be willing to dabble and see what we come up with. But I've been writing with a couple of friends, and we're always writing new content.
Okay.
But I haven't performed with any of these people yet, so I don't know. I'm not super stressed about writing more songs or using my stuff or not using my stuff.
Okay.
But I like the couple songs that I have, and I did that single last year with my favorite one, and we did a music video, which was fun. It's fun to be on set and be like the star of the show.
When you say music video, was it, what kind of, like, how did that go about? Like, was it a full set and with, like, people around, cameras, or was it, like, Fred with an iPhone?
It was my friend with a camera.
Okay.
He rented a camera and equipment and, like, slides and, whatever, tripods and shit. I was funding it. I was paying for all of it.
Okay.
And he and I both really like old French, like Jean-Luc Godard films. So we based my song, because the song is called Until We Meet Again. It's thematically about this like romantic relationship that's like clearly physical and sexual in nature, and there is an element of love there, but it hasn't necessarily been stated, or it's kind of in that like in between. Anyway. And that's a lot of Jean-Luc Godard's films are kind of about that male-female tension relationship. Like, what is this? What isn't this?
A lot of music's about that, too.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But so the song has a little bit of French in it, has a French line in it.
Nice.
And we basically kind of stole shots directly from the movie Breathless and recreated them in my friend's. I rented my friend's apartment. I had done a photo shoot in his apartment when I cut my hair. I used to have like long shoulder length undercut, and I cut it all off a year ago, like last February. And we did a photo shoot in his apartment while I cut my own hair. And then my friend Mike was there to fix it for me afterwards. He's actually a hairstylist. So I was just like cutting chunks out of my hair. The photo shoot turned out pretty cool. And then the way his apartment was set up, it was it was Breathless. Like, it's this tiny like studio apartment with a bed on the floor.
Yeah.
And there's this huge window right next to the bed, so I knew we would get a lot of natural light for the shoot. And it was great. We casted this guy that looked very like 60s. I wanted him to be brown specifically. Because my ex-boyfriend was, and the guy I wrote the song about is
authenticity.
Right. Yeah. Well, and also, whatever but be relevant and timely.
Yeah.
This isn't 1960s France, there are people of color
Yeah.
are part of our society here in America.
Believe it or not.
Believe it or not. Yeah, it was a really fun day. It was just like a fun shoot day. I hired I hired a friend to be a PA, and I brought coffee for everybody in the morning and snacks, and we did like a 6 to 7 hour shoot in my friend's apartment. And then my friend who shot it edited it all together for me, and voila.
So I imagine you use an audio track that you've pre-recorded that
Yes,
goes over it.
yes,
No,
I had done the track a couple months before with a female producer that I met at a Women in Music networking / wellness day in Pasadena. I missed the yoga in the morning, but I'm glad I stuck around. I met this producer. She's sweet. And we recorded in her studio in Highland Park.
So with each shot, I mean, you have to be playing. Do you play the song in the background and play to it?
Yeah.
I've never done a music video myself.
Okay.
I've seen a few done, and I guess I've never really got to ask the question, and I've always been really curious about it. When you're doing the shot, like, you have to be into every single shot. Do you choose a shot and then play the whole song through, or do you do bits and pieces because you know which part of the song?
So my friend Andrew, who directed it, also had the storyboard, so he knew which parts of the songs. Which part of the song he wanted to shoot with which moments.
He was fucking ready.
Oh yeah, no.
Awesome.
I was not fucking around when I asked my friend Andrew to do it with me, because I knew we have a very similar taste.
Yeah. And
I knew that he would be able to listen to my vision, and we both worked on it. We both had so much fun working on it together. And so we had just like a lot of long talks about the song and about how I felt about Breathless or whatever. We watched the movie a couple of times together, and just like, he basically was like, this verse, I want to make sure we get this and this and this and this shot. I don't know if I'll use them all, but we'll sing. And then there were some long shots, like me sitting at the end of the bed, where we did the whole song a couple times through.
Okay.
Like any shots that he thought he might drop in a few places, we did the whole song. And we did a lot of like shots into mirrors, and it was just really fun. It was cool, and he's a really talented cinematographer and like director. So
awesome.
He produced his own acting reel.
Wow. He's
one of the most organized, like logical. It's amazing. His brain is amazing.
Which is so necessary in any sort of like entertainment industry. Like there has to be. I mean, everyone should be organized. But
any of my friends is gonna make it, it's him.
Oh, that's wonderful.
For sure. Like he's going to be a working actor. Like no questions. No questions.
So in the shots, like, you mean, you're singing and performing, and you know you're going for a certain mood. Did you ever find yourself having difficulty almost like expressing the right face or the way you're standing or things like that? Did all those things come into play for you?
I was nervous about that stuff.
What was going through your head for like all that? How did you
I was
approach
nervous. And the way I combated that is I had my a girl that I work with who's a supermodel and an actress come and be the PA for the day, so that she could watch and make sure my bangs weren't doing something weird. Because it was like, I wanted to focus on the emotional aspect and what my expression was, and not
really
have to focus on like whether or not my collar was right. So I had somebody there as a details person for me to make sure all the stuff that I didn't want to worry about was taken care of.
Yeah, it's a full production.
Yeah, I'm also very organized.
Yeah, no, clearly. I don't think anyone could do as much as that you do without being organized. I'm still learning that.
Yeah. It's I think, I needed to go to college to learn how to do that for myself, because in college I was a double major, so I bit off more than I could chew, but I still accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish. But I had to be organized, or I wouldn't have been able to get it all done.
Yeah.
And then my brother James is getting his PhD right now, and it sounds like he does the same thing. Like he times out his work. He basically works a 9 to 5, even though it's right now he's like writing his dissertation. But after 5 o'clock or whatever time he had set for the day, he'll stop and be like, clock out, basically.
Yeah, it's the healthiest.
You
way
have to
go.
do that.
You
Yeah,
have to,
yeah. And you have to do that as a musician, as an artist.
Especially in the studio when you're recording, like it's so easy to say I need to accomplish, even if it's
It's
one
so
guitar
easy
track.
to work to 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
right,
it's
right.
Like, fuck, now I'm burnt out. I have a whole other day of recording I got to do,
Right.
this and that. So
Right, and you didn't get any sleep, and now your voice isn't where it should be, and la la la. Right.
yeah,
right.
it's organization. It's you don't think organization when you think musician, but
right.
I mean it's virtually
You
impossible
don't, but
to
right,
accomplish
exactly,
anything.
exactly. Well, because that's not the romantic la vie boheme thing that we're all led to believe.
Oh fuck that! It's brutal. It's brutality. It's fucking
Exactly.
war.
Yeah,
You want something that bad, you better fucking fight.
yeah, you have
for
to
it.
fight for it. You're gonna have to fight for it. It's not gonna be some like you're gonna be able to get an apartment in Laurel Canyon and just like play until somebody hears you through the window one day and goes,
Yeah, it's
"Who's that lady?" Yeah, like nobody's doing that.
It's not La La Land.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and exactly, it's not what Hollywood has led us to believe. Or, I mean, I think a lot of publications to perpetuate this idea about artists having to be tortured and like be
The
drug
misery,
addicts and yeah. And that's completely false. All the musicians I hang out with, I mean, the worst. I mean, they might dabble in psychedelic soap in their third eye sometimes, or smoke some ganj, but it's not like
Well, I think
they're
people
shooting heroin. And
Yeah, I think people forget that you're either doing the music or you're not.
Right,
Everything
right.
outside of that, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Like,
Right,
call it
it's-
whatever
right.
you want,
Meh.
do whatever you want, but you're either doing the music or you're not.
Right.
There's just really, and that's why I love it, because there's not a lot of gray area in taking it and doing it and being able to get punched and punch back and all that other shit, the image, the bracelets, the necklaces, the cool clothes, the different voices you use, like all
Right.
that stuff. I see it so much, and people are trying to make it in an image rather than what they're doing. Like one of the shows actually with that company was at the House of Blues, and the guy that went on before me, he was wearing a really, really pizzazzy outfit, like super, goes on stage and has a computer and plays these backup tracks, not very good backup tracks, and he sings only 3 songs, and they gave him a 30-minute set, so there was a long gap, but he finishes and then walks off and immediately changes into normal clothes, and I'm like, I couldn't repeat a single word of his songs or pay attention, but I could tell you what he was wearing.
Yeah,
Like,
that's bad.
That doesn't make sense to me. Like, what are you trying to promote here?
Well, I think LA is a lot about branding and personal brand and all this stuff about social media now. And I mean, I recently signed up for an online social media class just because I would love to be just making money off of the internet.
Yeah.
I like LA, but I'm not like obsessed with LA. I would kind of like to live wherever I want to live or be
Yeah.
able to travel and not be tied to being here
That's the
necessarily.
beautiful part about social media and
Right,
streaming and
so
stuff.
you
Like, you don't have
can.
to be here.
Yeah, you
Like,
don't.
don't succumb to the shit that they're telling you. Like,
Right.
the bedroom musicians shouldn't stay bedroom musicians, but you can start there and build an empire.
Right, you absolutely like Bo Burnham or like whoever,
Yeah.
like Justin Bieber. So
I'm actually having one of his tour managers on next
right,
week.
because I now I don't remember if I heard this on a podcast. I think I did, and I can't remember which one it was, but they were saying how there aren't that many A&R guys anymore, like people going out and doing talent scouting, because the internet has become this, if you rise to the top of the internet, if you're in the creme de la creme of the internet, then they don't need to do talent scouting
Yeah.
because
You
you've
already have
risen
the
to the top.
audience.
You already have the audience. You have a built-in audience now, and you have all these followers and whatever, so they know you have a clear vision, brand X, Y, or Z, and they can just basically plug you into whatever their system is. And I don't know. I think that if I ever reached that amount of success on the internet, I would never sign with anybody.
Oh, you
Because I'd be
should.
like,
I
I
met with
did
a-
this all by myself. I don't need your help
I
at
met
this
with
point.
a guy named AC Burrell. It's literally his name. And he works in Hollywood, and he did, some of Beyonce's first records. He did the Backstreet Boys. Did
Okay.
all, like a lot of big acts, and I got to sit down with him for like an hour in the studio. We were talking, and he made a comment. He's like, some of my closest friends that aren't signed and are musicians, they're making more money as independent artists than the guys that are signed to
Oh, yeah.
our label. And like that blew my mind. He's like, you just have to you got to put the work in. He's like, but
it's a lot of work. But if you're making the
go.
money, then you can hire a staff and they'll do it exactly the way you want them to do it.
Yeah, and to stay independent, because so many bands are doing that. And that's
yeah.
Just
All
you
you
go,
need to do is have
suffering.
a good manager or whatever. Like if you need somebody to be a tour manager and help you book the gigs, then if you're making enough money on the internet, you can pay anybody to do that. You can pay the best person to do that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That is the beauty and the curse of the internet, because then you're like trying to crack the code. And you're like, how do I get my shit in front of people?
Well, the other downside is like being able to promote an image so intensely. I feel like it's good to have your image, and it's like finding your voice. Find your image, find who you are, but present that. Don't cover it up with fancy clothes or something you're not.
Right.
Like don't try to be the heavy metal guy if you're not.
I know, and you see that so much.
And it's like it pisses me off. It frustrates me because it's like you're already putting another barricade on the bridge of me experiencing your music and connecting with you as a person. So like social media allows us to hide behind these images that are taking away from what we're trying to bring. But at the same time, if you're raw, it brings people so much closer to what you're about and who you are. So when they listen to your music or they see your show or whatever it is, they connect so deeply because it's almost like they get to be closer to you.
Yeah, the people that are faking it essentially is, in short, as the sum up of what you just said, just are not emotionally mature enough to know who they are yet.
Or even confident.
They're just not there.
That.
Yeah, they're not emotionally mature. They're not confident. And hopefully they will eventually find that. But I think society / social media / like all of those things are making them feel like they have to be that way.
Of course, because you can go on your Instagram and scroll and find 1,000 or 100,000 likes on someone that, posted the right picture. Or
right, exactly.
You don't know what they're doing behind, closed doors or whatnot, especially in music.
Yeah.
Like, how many guitar players are on, social media? Some of them just sit there and shred all day and just want to get likes. And some people make it seem like they're touring the world when really they played 2 shows in LA.
Right.
It's you never know.
That's the beauty of it. I have a friend who I was recently in Utah on this theater tour. And my friend, who's also a musician that I work with at the restaurant, she was like, make it look like,
it look like
it's for you, and not for this other thing. And I was like, yeah, I'll do a little bit of that, but it is for this other. If it is for this tour, and the tour is like this, like socially conscious type thing where they want us to be, promoting it, because it's like an anti-bullying, anti-suicide type thing. Yeah. So. It's like, no, I do want to get the word out about the show, though, about the actual show that I'm in, not just of course, I'm in Utah.
What's the different thing?
Utah
like
on
you
tour.
Sign up, you bring, they ask you to come, you bring yourself to their cause.
Right, I was working. I was at work.
Yeah, you bring yourself to their cause. You don't bring something fake and use someone else to get somewhere. I mean, it's just...
No, right, and I don't think she was. I don't think she was suggesting that necessarily, because she also she's a singer. That's what like her main goals are. But she's also an incredible dancer, and so she goes on tour with this band and dances.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's super cool. She'll be gone for like a month or so at a time. That's one thing I really appreciate about the restaurant job that I do have, is that they really understand that we all have this greater dream, and they're totally cool with letting us come and go as we please.
Yeah.
Which
it's
is really, it's a great job to have, and also in such a big, it's like a big corporate thing too, but it is and it isn't. So it's like one of those weird, it's not like I work at a mom and pop place where of course they let me come and go and like whatever.
Yeah.
But we also have 60 servers, so
they're not worried.
They're not missing me when I'm gone.
So you write your music, you play, you sing, you do all that stuff. You're definitely a writer, musician, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Do you have any other avenues in music that you mess around with? I mean, you said you wanted to be an actor. Are you doing acting, or are you doing any production of music? Are you behind, off the stage, off the instrument? Are you involved in music like that?
I did produce a show last year called Sanctuary. It was this guy who's been following me on YouTube for, I don't know, years, reached out to me over Instagram and was like, hey, I have this really cool space in Echo Park. I know this all sounds creepy. Sorry, parents.
Slide into
I was like,
DMs.
This is just like how this shit goes down now. You can tell somebody's vibe from texting with them for a couple of minutes if you're a millennial. I don't know. Like, I can tell if somebody's going to be a real creep or not. Yeah. And you meet in a public place during the day. It's like, what could really go wrong? So I met up with this guy, and he was like, I have this really cool space, and was showing me pictures of it. And it's like this really cool Dios de los Muertos room where the woman who used to own the house would like help people pass in that room. It's like this really spiritual, crazy space. It's super cool. And so I produced a show there, like an acoustic, no microphones, like nothing. It's just you standing in front of everybody, in front of this like Dios de los Muertos like wall. And everybody I got like pads for the floor, and people just sat around, and it was like an acoustic show.
Talk about a backdrop.
That I streamed online. So yeah, with this epic like backdrop. So, and then there was that online streaming aspect of it, so that because the space was so small, we could really only have 20 to 30 people in there. But with the internet, you can show it to everybody. So I've done that. That was really fun. Like I haven't produced the show this year yet because we lost the space temporarily. But it's really fun to give artists an opportunity to play, A, and then B, it was really interesting from a promoter standpoint.
Yeah,
because people like weren't sharing the flyer, or like I always at the end of my emails will put, if you read to the end of this email, you will send me a picture of a kitten doing something extremely cute. And like one of my 4 artists sent me the picture of the kitten. And I was like, so none of you read my
That's
email.
A really good tactic, actually.
Yeah.
Like for any, I like that. I'm going to use that.
That's like a business person tactic. I got that advice from somebody who does a lot of business, and he would, when he would hire somebody to make graphics or something for him, at the end of every email, he'd always put something like that, to know that they read the whole thing.
Yeah.
And read it, and actually read it. Yeah. Were comprehend. They didn't just like skim through it and then just be like, okay, well, here's my quick answer.
Yeah.
No, I need you to read every word and like know that I want you to comprehend it. Send me a picture of a kitten or whatever it was. I'll just pick the cutest baby animal or something like that. So that was interesting too, because then I was trying to call the people out that clearly didn't read to the end of the email. I'd be like, okay, I haven't really gotten a response from everybody. You've confirmed, but I didn't really get a response. So I was like, even being like, hello, you didn't read to the end of my email, and I know you didn't. And they still didn't like, anyway, it was, so that was interesting too.
Perspective on, you when you do shows, because you got to experience the other side of it, what these people are going through with musicians. Did you change how you approach shows?
A little bit. Like I'm a responsible Midwestern gal, so like I always responded to the emails and read them thoroughly, and it's interesting. I mean, moving to LA was such an eye opener for me to learn that not everybody is like that. Because like all the people I grew up with and surrounded myself, almost no one is like that. So like, I've really had to lower my expectations, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, it's just like,
I feel you.
It is what it is. Not everybody is me. That's fine. That's fine. But at the same time, like hello.
Hey, I'm doing something. I asked you to be a part of it because I care about what you're doing.
Right.
And I think it's important.
Right.
Read the email.
Right. And with the show that I was producing, it was very, I was trying to be woo woo and like be very like, this is a safe, like cool,
blanket
like we're
area.
trying to be like not spiritual, but kind of like a spiritual space. And I wanted everybody to be there the whole time and like watch the other artists. It was supposed to be the supportive, loving, experience. Yeah. Turn off your phones. Like we're recording it. It's gonna be on the internet. Yeah. And for the most part, like the people who would come to that show did all of that.
Yeah.
It was just like getting people to respond to emails and then also promote it on their own social media. It's like I sent you a flyer. Just share it. Just put it up.
Well, that's the thing. It's like if you're playing something, like I don't understand why you wouldn't.
Right, or make your own flyer.
Sure,
if my flyer doesn't fit your brand, I totally understand that. But do promote it. I want to be tagged in something that says you're promoting it.
Every show I've done, I've blown it way out of proportion. Like I made a Facebook event, I invited everybody. I would post constantly about it, talk about it, talk about this show's gonna have different songs or anything like that. Like,
you try to like make it.
It's because like look, I'm playing a show. I care about what I'm doing, regardless who through it, and I talk about the place I'm playing. Like I played the baked potato, and that was my my marketing approach. Like, hey, I'm playing the baked potato. This is a big fucking deal. Mm-hmm. For me, it's a serious experience. I want you to experience this with me, as opposed to it's a totally different approach when I'm promoting, playing the House of Blues or playing, a tiny bar in LA, but you still do it nonetheless.
Right.
And I don't see why.
Well, you want people to come out. It's more fun when people are there.
Well, of course, it's a live show, but
Right.
I mean, if someone says, "Hey, I'm doing this, I'm producing this show, and I want you to be a part of it,"
Right.
like, hey, you reached out to me, you care about what I'm doing, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, what do you need from me?
But
It's kind of like having a normal relationship, regardless.
right. Just I feel like human interaction is weird now. Like
Oh, of
people
course.
don't know how to communicate.
Of course.
People have a hard time.
Especially emails.
I mean, me too. I also struggle with that, but you know. Yeah, that's kind of my only behind the scenes. I have Pro Tools on my computer. That's another I would love to learn
I just switched
how to
from
use
Pro
that.
Tools.
Oh, really?
I'm using Cubase now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't really know that much about any of that stuff. But I got Pro Tools because of another singer friend of mine. That's what she uses.
I'm amazed that all the big studios are still using Pro Tools, because Pro Tools is actually starting to lose its place in the studio.
Oh, really?
Like, no one's really using it personally. I mean, not no one, but I mean,
I am, but I'm not. Like, I
all
have
the-
it, but I haven't been using it because I don't really know how to use it. I always default to GarageBand and just I know how to patch something together on GarageBand.
Well, there's so many different types of music and so many different platforms that are different than Pro Tools that allow a lot more. There's not as many restrictions.
Okay.
Like, I can upload my like different preamps or different sounds or different, you know, whatever to have what I want. Like Cubase, that's why I switched over to Cubase, because I could download as much as I wanted. It's much more accessible, because I used Pro Tools for fucking 10 years.
Okay.
And it was just like every year you got to update it, or you can't have this or this and that. And but it's amazing, because I think in like the next 10 years, the big label world, they're not going to be using Pro Tools anymore, because kids that are going to school to become engineers that get hired by the labels, they
not
learn
even
Pro Tools, but they
learning
learn
it?
so
Oh,
many
okay.
other things that they're much more.
Yeah, I just
learned
need
in.
I want to get into something that's not GarageBand, even though I love you GarageBand. But just to be able to record demos, because I want to. I'm still trying to figure out, as much as I love doing the weddings and the corporate gigs, they're kind of few and far between, at least for me right now. And I'd love to get into the jingle writing world, obviously. Who wouldn't?
Big time gig, yeah.
Because you can make $1 million off of one stupid song about goldfish. You know, I feel like that's the LA dream.
So you're focused on making a living, as in making money off of your music.
Well, you had the Kirky B on, and he said he hasn't worked a day in his life because
Yeah.
he's gotten to be a working drummer for 30 years. That's
Fucking
how I
love
want to
that guy.
feel. That's how I want to feel.
Yeah.
I think I have a lot of fun writing jingles. I do it
I
at
can
work.
definitely see that.
I know. It's my personality. I'm like
Absolutely.
corny and so for work they make us do these presentations about alcohol, just to like explain to each other the tasting notes of a wine or whatever. So whenever I have to do one, I always write a song for it.
Oh,
So
damn.
I'll like do the presentation, and then I always have a jingle about the wine afterwards.
Do you ever submit jingles to, like, you know, auditions or anything like that? Is there a platform to find out, hey, these people are looking for a jingle for this?
Yeah, so there's a woman whose podcast I listen to named Kathy Heller, and she has a podcast called Don't Keep Your Day Job. And that's how she made her way in the LA music scene, kind of. Like,
Wow.
she got dropped from 2 record deals, and then started to figure out, like, oh, well, if I could get my song placed in a movie or in an ad,
Yeah.
then I could be making money off it. And like, I just have to figure out what they want. So she kind of reverse engineered it, and now she has her own management company that has connections with people, and she'll send people music for certain ads or her own or whatever. And she has this huge catalog now of all these musicians and da-da-da-da-da. Listen to her podcast. She's great. So I feel like I do have an idea of how that
Yeah.
works.
Okay.
But I don't have the content. I need to like start really writing it.
I love the
Like-
way you said that, though, because I feel like a lot of people, a lot of musicians, and I've even thought this at one point, the whole jingle writing, you know, writing for something, writing what someone wants, and
Mm-hmm.
people say that's selling out, or that's just, you know, being a slave. But it's like, look, if you don't want to do it and you do it, sure, then don't
do it.
Yeah, but you know,
I want to do it. I think
if
it's
you're
like a
passionate,
puzzle.
If you love what you're doing, if you think it's another musical path for you, and you're in love with it, like the way you're presenting it, I mean, absolutely. You know,
It's-
but I feel like it's so easy to have look down on that whole concept. Like it's a
Sure.
different industry. It's like it's not as creative. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Those people love what they do.
Listen, you can write your breakup songs and make people cry and have that experience and write jingles at the same time.
You can do it all. You should
We're
do it all.
human. It's you're a multifaceted person. Like, they're just, people who are scared to cry or whatever. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, you're human. Just experience it and do it. And if
it's your job as a musician.
and if you're sad and you want to write the song that's just for you, or not even sad, you want to write a song that's just for you, that is expressing something that you need to get out of you, that's beautiful.
That's authentic. That's
authentic.
That's what everybody wants.
That's amazing. And hopefully, on the other end, it's not so specific that people can relate to it.
That's where the technique of writing comes in.
Right, exactly. And that's like, and
things.
that's how, when you're writing a song, you're not writing a poem. You're writing, it's simpler than that. You have to like make it fit. It's like that,
phrasing, reword.
Right.
When you write a poem, you want to turn the song, reword the phrasing, work on it, put it in.
You're going to have to, right. It's not the same, for me, it's not the same like part of my brain even.
Yeah.
For songwriting for me is very like putting a puzzle together. So like I figure out what I want to write about, and then I basically figure out the structure of the song, and then like puzzle piece together different ideas. So
is it like that every time?
It's like that most of the times.
Okay.
I there was only one song I've ever written after a really bad date that I just like wrote. Like
just kind of came out of you.
It did. I was so annoyed. But that's also kind of it's like a little bit of a silly song. So like the pressure was off. I wasn't trying to be fucking Bob Dylan, or, I wasn't trying to change anybody's life with the song. I was just pissed off at this guy. So
you were genuine, you were
right.
vulnerable, you were real, authentic, and regardless if you're trying to change the world or pissed off at a guy, like that's the place it should start.
Right.
No matter what.
Right.
Even if you're writing a fucking jingle. Hey, this is what I want. This is the kind of thing we're going to. I was like, all right, well, how does Cait feel about this? What is Cait going to write according to what they say?
Right.
Like,
My voice is going to be unique. I'm going to bring my perspective to it no matter what. Like we all have a very specific set of circumstances that we've lived through. Everyone's different. Like even your siblings have had a different, like they've been viewing everything through a different lens their whole life. Like,
we're all watching different movies.
Right. Yeah. We're all watching different movies. And when you sit down and have discussions, you realize that.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
I'm not the only person.
We were watching different movies. But yeah, that's the human experience.
So forgive me if this question's a little vague or too general, but on that whole topic, people often say, a musical journey. What's your music? Like, what does that mean to you? Like, if you were to define a musical journey and, sum it up for you. I know it's very, very general.
Well, as soon as you said musical journey, my brain like jumped back to like I was raised Methodist, and they always talked about like your Christian journey and your like journey with God. And even though I am not there anymore, I think your musical journey is very similar. That's so funny. You say musical journey and then you don't really know what it means. You have a relationship with it. Like I have had a hard last couple of months going through a breakup, and I haven't written anything, and that's just and you have to, and that's part of the journey. Like you have to forgive yourself for that too. Like even if you took an unexpected break from whatever, it's like it's okay. Just forgive yourself and move on. It's a journey. It's about if you're not enjoying the journey, then you shouldn't be doing it. So it can't be about the destination. I learned that a couple of years ago.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, when I moved to LA and I wasn't famous within 6 months. Well, right, exactly. You really have to take a step back and you're like, okay, well, do I like what I'm doing though? Like, do I like this part of it? Because this part of it is going to be this part of it for like 5 to 10 years. Yeah. So am I cool with that? And then if you are, then yeah, You're on the journey.
It's like a level of forgiveness and respect all at the same time.
Yeah.
It's almost like the musical journey is not necessarily just you, but you've allowed something to be at your side through everything, and it brings its own baggage.
Yeah, it
And
does.
That's why you're there.
Because it for me, I feel guilty when I'm not working on it. And
Interesting. So when you're not where you feel guilty because you're not pushing for what you believe in? Or
I've always had a hard time relaxing, if you can imagine. So when like I have always felt guilty when I wasn't working on and choosing music as a career, like you can always be working on something like that.
Yeah.
I have to have that clock out mentality sometimes where like after 9 o'clock at night, unless I'm really in a flow, like I'm like, okay, it's time to wind down and go to bed, like get ready for bed. You just have to like turn it off sometimes. And then also forgive yourself for not working on it. I do. I have to forgive myself for not working on it.
How do you forgive yourself?
It's meditation. It's usually just like a mental shift in energy for me. Like I'll feel myself spiraling down that way and then just like take a deep breath and be like, no. Like I'm choosing not to spiral out right now. I can choose not to.
In that moment, especially, with music, do you ever look back at what you have accomplished as a tool to get you out of it?
Sometimes I when I was making you the list of things for today, that was really it was good. It was nice for me to like write it, like see it in black and white, and like sometimes I think about that, but then that can be a slippery slope for me too, feeling like I haven't accomplished all the things that I've wanted to accomplish yet. But it's okay.
That's one of my favorite topics, one of my favorite things to think about, because that's something we all struggle with, even outside of music. But, feeling like you haven't done anything, like you haven't done enough, you haven't gotten to where you want to be. And in those moments, I'm always so curious about how each individual gets through them. Because, I'm infamous in my own head for beating myself up, and I've done a lot of work to get past that, a lot of different things. So just, especially for someone like you that does so much, even at that, even with a schedule so busy and doing so many things, you can still get to a point where it's like, oh, I feel guilty because I'm not doing enough.
Yeah, I think for me, it's about having good, strong friends around that are constantly telling you how much you've accomplished. Because if you are unable to tell yourself, because sometimes you're just unable to like pat yourself on the back and be like, you're doing a great job. Yeah, and that's another reason why you need to be playing out and like sharing your music with people, because then if it's bad, you're getting feedback so you can improve.
Feedback is feedback.
Feedback is invaluable. But also then when you're doing something great, you have people telling you you're doing something great. And it makes you feel good, not just because you're having people saying you're doing something great, but also because you feel like you're accomplishing something and you're like moving the right direction. Validation.
Yeah.
But I have really good friends. And so whenever I'm feeling down about things that I've accomplished, all I have to do is mention something like that to a close friend of mine, and they'll be like, "Are you crazy? Girl, you're crazy. You do this and this and this and this and this, and you're good." Yeah. You have to be vulnerable with people. It's about the human experience. I think music is a lot about the human experience. Yeah. And so is a lot about... And so, I have friends who are comedians and actors, and all of this is about the human experience. So I'm surrounded by people all day that are vulnerable people, emotional people.
You found your community.
Yeah.
Which is so crucial.
Yes.
And to me, especially as a musician, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, it's a lot of the reason why I started the podcast, is a community that is missing in so many of our lives. Mm-hmm. And if we can build that community and, of, hey, I'm a musician, I feel these things, I'm a creative type, like you said, you're hanging out with comedians and actors, like they share a lot of your experiences. Mm-hmm. So when it's time to open up, people can relate to you. And that's so crucial, that community factor.
Yeah, my first bit of advice for anyone who moves to to LA specifically, because that's the big city I chose to move to, but move somewhere in pursuit of X, Y, or Z, is that you have to find your family.
Yeah.
Because if you don't make friends and find your family, nothing's going to keep you here when it gets hard.
And it will.
And it 175% will. Like, it guaranteed it will get hard. And if you don't have somebody to call or shoulder to cry on, I don't care who you are. I don't care how tough you are.
Yeah.
Then you won't stay.
You're kidding? This is a vulnerable industry.
You're going to move back to where your friends were. You're going to move back to where you did feel safe and supported and comfortable.
Which could be the deadliest thing for your
right.
musical journey.
Yeah, exactly. Which could kill your musical journey. Stop it dead.
So it's safe to say you're a very passionate person, very passionate about what you do.
Sure.
I'm the same way. I'm very passionate. So with that passion, does it ever lighten up? Does it ever feel like it's getting dim regarding a project? Like, do you feel that passion go away if you're doing something you're not totally crazy about, as opposed to, hey, I'm, writing my songs, I'm crazy about this right now? Or is it like same across the board as long as I'm involved in the music scene or creative scene?
I think the biggest passion killer for me is like a lack of respect. So if I show up to do a project and nobody's ready and we start 3 hours late, and my passion is dead at that point. Like, I'm just there because
there's no motivation to do it anymore.
Right. I'm literally just there to do the work that you hired me for at this point, and fuck you guys. But I would say no. I would say my passion's pretty consistent unless there's some sort of weird something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, music-wise, I would say, and I haven't run into a lot of projects music-wise that were like that. It was more acting gigs.
Okay.
And I was like, I can't passion my way through this.
I can't passion
I can't.
I like that statement. I can't passion my way through this. All right, guys, there's a problem.
Yeah, so that's why I shifted my focus towards music a little bit, because I could kind of passion my way through it. I felt more like it was more sustainable for me. I wasn't sitting around looking in the mirror doing Shakespearean monologues. Not that a lot of actors are doing that, but I had no desire to like practice my craft. But I am always picking up my guitar, my ukulele, or something, like whatever's out and within reach. If I'm doing email, like whatever, like I always, every day I'm playing something. So, and that was when I was acting. Or
so what about we just talked about the hard times, the struggle, like when things get hard, the project isn't working, or the recording isn't going well, the show didn't go well. In those times of struggle, does the passion change as well, or is it still the passion's there? It's just,
I would say my passion doesn't change when times get hard.
What does change, if anything?
I don't know, the rest of the night, kind of, like the vibe of the night, what I want to do. If the show doesn't go well, then I'm less inclined to be like, let's take shots and go crazy and celebrate. It's like when I went to a football school. I went to Ohio State. When you lose the football game on Saturday, like the partying was much different on Saturday night than when you won. So it's kind of like that. I feel and I am close with a lot of comedians. I feel like they kind of are the same way. It's like
sure.
When they fucking eat a dick on stage.
I had a comedian on 2-3 weeks ago. Yeah. We talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah, like they don't want to party afterwards. They just want to go home and curl into a little ball. I feel like it's like the same thing. If something goes wrong musically, you just kind of want to spend the rest of the afternoon with Netflix, and
it's almost like it's not necessarily the passion, but the motivation kind of deteriorates. It's like, I don't want to do anything today. I'm going to wait till tomorrow and get over it.
Yeah, well, you need like that spiritual break. You need like a little time to recover and recoup. Like you just had you had a little bit of an injury. It's
props
okay.
To you for being aware of that, because that's it's very, as simple as that sounds and obvious as it sounds, it's something that
people aren't
so easy to pass up
and
forget about.
I think meditation has helped me a lot in that kind of a sphere, just being mentally aware when your emotions change. And to forgive yourself if you don't catch it right away or whatever, but it's like you decide how you feel about something. Nobody else does. So you can look at it. There are a million ways to look at a painting, but
how are you looking at it?
Yeah. How are you looking at it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there are a million ways to deal with a situation, but how do you need to deal with it to like protect your emotions and your energy and like who you are as a person, or not protect, or be vulnerable, either way. But like, I also grew up with tragedy and hardship, or I think it depends on your childhood and how you grew up too.
What kind of skills you learn to get through things.
Yeah, like coping mechanisms,
Yeah.
what's healthy, what's not healthy, what works, what doesn't work. People who have coasted through life don't necessarily have those tools in their tool belt, and meditation can help you get there. I think you don't necessarily have to have that pain
I agree.
to like know how to deal with yourself.
It's more just
when the
unlocking
going
your
gets
mind
rough
to yourself,
But yeah.
unveiling it.
Yeah. So I think meditation is really important in that regard, because, you have a shitty show, you're going to have another show.
Yeah.
Like, it sucks tonight. That's okay. Nobody showed up tonight. That's okay. Have another whiskey soda and go play some Zelda. I don't know. Like, that's what I do.
Whiskey soda and some Zelda. Lyric to a song right there.
Yep.
So I remember when we talked a few months ago, you're talking about social media and someone you hired.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious, for me and for everyone, your promotion skills, at least from my perspective, are awesome.
Oh, thanks.
So,
I think they're terrible.
So, like, what's the promotion like for you, like, of yourself on social media and, like, even on stage? What's promotion for you?
It's always developing. I think, so I hired a social media manager last summer because I had extra money, and it was really expensive. And, what I learned through that experience hiring that person is that the clicks that you get and the streams that you get and the views or whatever don't really mean anything. They don't mean anything. So it's like they were helping me grow my Instagram and all of that stuff, and I saw numbers rising, not as fast as I wanted to. So, like, what's wrong with me? Like, why isn't it growing faster? Like, they weren't satisfied with how it was growing, and I know that. And so then it's, but I don't want to tie my identity and my music to numbers on social media. So it was like it was kind of an awakening for me where I went, okay, well, I'm going to go to the end of this, but then from here on out, like, if I'm not putting the blood, sweat, and tears into it, I don't feel the same connection to it. Like, I don't feel the same connection to the 8,000 followers I gained using the social media manager as I would if I would have, like, as I did the first 1,000, which I worked hard to do by myself.
Yeah, you have to, and that's such a key thing for artists and anybody,
right?
For something like, you have to put those blood, sweat, and tears,
right?
Like, if you're not doing that, and someone else is, like, you're already stepping away from what what your voice is, what your image is,
right.
Who you are,
right?
And, like, if you find that out and you have something going and you hire someone to be on board with what you're doing is different, but to hire someone to take over, what to get you numbers, I can definitely see that. That's
and so I got the numbers because I was thinking I was going to try to go on tour this year, and I wanted to be able to send people my social media package and have it look impressive.
Yeah.
But that was the thing, is like, it might look impressive-ish now, but it's not like more people are showing up to my shows.
Yeah.
So it's really for nothing.
Yeah, what is it bringing your music?
Right. So I thought I was going to get a return on my investment, because now all of these people were going to be really engaged in my music and want to purchase it and be asking me about it and all this stuff. But instead, now I just have, like, a lot more creepy people slipping into my DMs, sliding into the DMs, and they aren't fans of my music.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, okay.
Well, it's also on social media, like, especially with, as a musician with songs, like, are you up there to promote your personal life, or are you wanting people to contact you about what you're doing, your music?
Right.
Is it a music page? And if it is a music page, are people talking to you about what you're doing with your life, or are they talking to you about your music career?
And I've gotten a couple, I wrote lyrics to a track for this person who slid into my DMs. So it's like, some people do reach out through Instagram for projects, and I kind of love that aspect of it.
Yeah, I've got a few of those. It's
really cool. You're like,
it's the greatest networking tool.
I mean, it's amazing. And Kathy Heller had a songwriting program a couple months ago, and I wrote a song with a girl who's in Nashville, and, like, just, like, thinking about how the internet, you can write songs with anybody all over the world, and how cool is that?
Yeah.
So I love that aspect of it, that it is a major connector for people and artists, but you still have to find those communities online, even the right Facebook groups or wherever you're going to find these people to write with.
So you found it's better, promotion is better when you're doing it yourself and you're searching for it and putting yourself out there instead of someone else.
Well, I just feel I don't, maybe I just chose the wrong social media management company. I don't know that we get each other. They work with a lot of R&B and hip hop artists, and that's not me.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of image in that world.
But
too.
vintage pop ukuleleist. Yeah, like I've been able to Google a social media manager that specializes in that. Good one. So
that's probably a good sign that you can't find one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I can figure it out. Now, and I did just pay a little bit of money for this social media online class that maybe will teach me a couple hacks.
Yeah.
So I can trick some algorithms into doing what I want. And we'll see how that works. It was way cheaper than hiring the manager, so I might as well give it a try. And
how do you promote on stage, or if you do at all?
Yeah, I have a little. I don't know if I had it for the show that you saw me in, but I have a little chalk sign that I had so I spell my name Caitleow, Cait Leow. Okay, when you introduced me at the top, everyone was thinking Katleo. I know they were. So it's like if I don't have my name spelled out, so I usually hang up a little sign with my name spelled out.
Okay.
Because my website is just CaitLeoMusic.com.
Yeah.
And if you know how to spell my name, links to all my social media are on my website. So it's really, I'll either write CaitLeoMusic.com on the little chalkboard or just my name and hang it on the mic stand, so that if anybody takes a picture of me, they have my name written there.
That's genius. I like that.
I stole it from somebody. It wasn't my idea. I went to one of my acoustic shows, and I don't know if they were before or after me, but it was a bigger chalkboard, and they had there's like the name of the band and all their social media written on it. But they brought out a little easel and put up this chalkboard behind them, and it looked really cute and like added to their vibe. And there was this cute little duo, and I was like, you guys are fucking geniuses. Because if I take one picture of you, now I have all of your information from that chalkboard behind you.
Wow.
I was like, you guys are smart, and I'm going to steal it.
So simple, but genius.
I stole it, yeah.
It's like having your own backdrop, but you wrote your name on it.
Right.
Hey, guys, it's not a backdrop, but... Yeah.
Well, because people don't... It's like, yeah, I have business cards, and like, people hand you the
one
flyers.
wants business cards.
You know, people have the postcards and shit that they hand you at their shows, and they're like, here's my little one. Like, that's just going to live in the bottom of my purse until it gets black and brown, and I like throw it away in a handful of paper that I'm pulling out of the bottom of my purse. I'm sorry, that's what's going to happen to it. True. And it's good to have those things if you're going to do a festival or you're going to a networking event, and because people might keep those cards around for a while.
People aren't going to a concert.
But people aren't going to a concert. Exactly. And I always ask before I give anybody my business card. I'm like, would you like a business card? Can I give this to you? I never am just like shoving it in people's faces.
Has anyone ever just said no?
No, nobody's ever said no.
Like
I mean, even if they don't want it, at least I got their consent. I don't know. Yeah.
It's important.
It is. Consent is sexy. Consent is sexy. But people are all, people will take pictures of you, and then and now your name is in that picture.
Story, It's like a subtle like, hey, everyone's checking me out.
Yeah. Well, also if it's written down, then people can find you, because that's the hardest bit,
spelling,
I think,
and figuring it out
for me. And so for a while I was thinking about going by a different name and just like going by a band name, even though it's just me, like Halsey or something. But I felt like I just like couldn't come up with anything that I liked.
Well, your name's good. It's a good
Cait Leow is it's
very rock and roll.
Thank you.
I like it.
Great.
So what's the future? Do you have any, what are your, I guess concrete may not be the right word, but I'm going to use it. What are your concrete goals for the future? For this, things that that this is a goal and it's not going to change. I'll get there somehow, but what do you want? Not in the whole life, but
right.
Near future, like you talked about the jazz trio. That's something like
jazz trio I want.
No matter what.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to figure it out.
Okay.
I think that's hard. It's a little difficult in LA. I don't know. And this is just me being stupid.
Scene out here.
I know there is. And like, So
just gotta be
go.
the best.
So I just have to like show up at a fucking jazz club and start getting to know people.
Go to the baked potato.
The baked potato. I just need to go to the baked potato and like start talking to people and being a face. It just takes time.
Plays there a lot with his
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Other things. I said to my friend in December that I wanted to learn bass this year, but I just bought this beautiful new guitar. So now I'm like,
I'll stick to this.
I think I might just polish up my guitar skills, and but we'll see. That's something I would like to learn eventually. I feel like I've always been drawn to that instrument. I always have crushes on bass players, but even when I was younger, when I started playing the violin, I really wanted to play cello, but cellos were too expensive, so I had to play the violin. And I love violin, but I do like that lower like resonance. I've always been drawn to that.
Cello's pretty badass.
Yeah, cello's totally fucking badass.
It is. It's fucking ridiculous.
So, I mean, not that I'm bitter or mad at my parents or anything. My boyfriend in high school played cello, so
Good steal. Good
my
catch.
high school sweetheart. We sat across from each other in orchestra. It was very cute.
How to get the girl to play the cello?
Exactly.
Well,
he also did
guitar
theater.
doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. He also played guitar. What are we
Yeah,
kidding?
but he played the cello. Is the point?
But he played the motherfucking cello. He played the cello at my dad's wedding.
What?
Yeah, I mean, we were still together, obviously, at that point. My dad got remarried when I was a senior, right before my senior year of high school.
Your
And we played Canon and D.
Played the cello at your dad's wedding.
Yeah, well, the four of us played. Aaron and I played first and second violin. Did James play viola that day? I think James busted out the viola.
What a fucking badass group of kids.
And then my boyfriend played cello, and we played Canon and D while I think they lit the Unity candle or something. I don't. Anyway,
You're too mesmerized by the cello.
I was mesmerized. He was cute.
I love that.
What was the question?
Your future goals.
My future goals.
Things you have to do, you're going to do one way or another.
Well, I would love to put out a full-length album. I've never done that. I did a little EP a couple of years ago by myself. I went up into the woods with a microphone and just like recorded 5 of my songs and then like put that out as an EP.
That's pretty badass.
It was fun. It was fun. It sounds okay. It doesn't sound terrible. I just wanted something because I was going to do this music festival and I didn't really have anything. And I was like, well, I have to do something.
Just go
and
up the mountains and record something real
right.
quick.
And I was inspired by Cherry Wine by Hosier. You can hear like the birds in the background and everything. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to go do this folksy ukulele thing in the woods and just record it. And it's going to be great. So I would like to put together like a 10 to 12 song album. I don't know if that'll happen this year. I would like to do like 3 singles with videos this year and then like leading up to some sort of album next year and then go on tour is kind of like, but I feel like that was kind of what I said was my goal last year. Not the 3 songs. My goal last year was to do 1 single and do a video, and I did it by June and then didn't accomplish really much after that, which was annoying to me.
You did what you said you were going to do.
So this year I wrote down a lot more goals because I was like, well, then if I accomplish them all there's no way I can accomplish all of this by June. So yeah. Other goals. I mean, non-music related, I have a podcast called Drunk Downton that I would love to get more people involved in. It's my friend and I doing commentary on Downton Abbey episodes, Wasted. But it's educational. So I pull allusions from the show to historical events and like explain them while
drunk.
So yeah. So what you're supposed to do
shit.
is like start the episode when you hear the clink, and then you listen along. You like watch and listen to us.
That's super
it's
interactive.
a commentary.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Well,
Great idea.
So thank you. I
interactive.
thought it was a good idea. We don't have, we have like 34 people in our Facebook group and 106 followers on Instagram. I have a couple of my one friend loves it. And so I was like, okay, I just have to find all the Katies in the world and get this in their hands. How do I do that? So I'm trying to figure out that.
Facebook ads.
Right, exactly. So I'm trying to figure out the Facebook ad type thing right now.
I did that for like 2 years.
So that's those are some of my goals. I wanted to write a kids book this year too, because one of my friends is an illustrator.
You're just a creative monster.
Well, I think honestly, the Don't Keep Your Day Job podcast was one of those things where I was like, okay, starting to listen to that. It's like music is definitely my passion and all of that, but I just kind of want to learn how to make my own money myself. I don't care if it's through a children's book or a podcast or music, but I want something I create to make money so that I don't have to do other people's work for them. I don't want to be a cog in a machine. Mm-hmm. Which is why I loved Bob Dylan so much when I was 16. You know what I mean? Like, I've always been, I feel like I was a really good kid, and I always showed up on time and always got straight A's and all that stuff. And now as an adult, it's like, I didn't realize how oppressive that was to my creativity. Mm-hmm. And I never want to live like that again.
Absolutely.
I never want to go somewhere where I have to be there from 9 to 5. It would crush my spirit.
Yeah. I'm right there with you.
So I'm just trying to figure out some sort of other avenue of money.
So that brings me to my final question.
Mm-hmm.
I like that you said that, because I wanted to ask you, and maybe this is not the right way to ask it, but it does seem like you are, like, what are you fighting for in music or with music, however you feel? What are you fighting for? A change in the world, a change in your life personally, a bigger connection? I mean,
my knee-jerk reaction to that question is that I'm fighting for people to be more vulnerable. And for people to feel something. I think there's a lot of noise, and people don't get quiet and just like listen.
Yeah. Music almost forces that.
Music forces that a little bit, and you can really change hearts and minds. Like, you know, when you hear the perfect song to the situation that you're living in that moment, and you're just like, and that song becomes a part of your whole life. Like, you always remember that exact. It's like a smell. Like, it takes you back to that specific time in your life when that really, like, it can even be a song that you've heard before, and it's like you heard it for the first time, because all of a sudden you can relate to it.
Yeah. Woke.
Yeah, you're like, holy shit.
You're woke to the song.
Yeah. So I guess I'm fighting for that. I think, you know, I've always been a feminist, so obviously, I mean, fighting for equality and all of that, my music doesn't usually deal with that on too many levels, but I think it does in some way.
A solo act with a ukulele, right. I mean,
yeah, woman power, man. That's always been something really important to me. I remember one of my college boyfriends, he used to always read my art history papers. I was a double major in theater and art history. And they were always about feminist artists and like what they were doing in the past or whatever. And I remember one time he was reading one of my papers, and he said, can you write about something else? No, I can't.
So were you intentionally writing with that stuff, or was it just natural for you?
No, I mean, it's what I was interested in. It's what I am interested in.
It's you.
Yeah, I read The Feminine Mystique as out of choice for like a government class or something when I was 16. And I've always, Katarina Stratford from 10 Things I Hate About You was like my role model. I fucking loved that character when I was in 7th grade. And she's just badass and reads The Feminine Mystique, and like, I don't know.
I want to be just like her.
I just want to be like her. I thought she was cool. Like, I thought that was really cool. She was an open, she knew who she was. She was like unapologetically who she is. And I feel like I lived a lot of my life to please others, please my parents, please whoever, a boyfriend, whatever.
Yeah.
And I've learned in my music journey and also just in my LA journey that you have to live for yourself, no matter like what sex you are.
So you think music is almost like your avenue to reaching people, to get them to a state of mind or a place of more awareness and opened up and vulnerable to themselves, really, and other people as well.
Yeah. I like, I really like when people come up to me after a set and are just like, I get it. Like I feel like they know me better and they know themselves better.
It's a beautiful relationship.
Through it. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm fighting for.
I fucking love that.
Off the top of my head.
No, that was beautiful. I love that. That was really, I hope people really consider what you said, because, I mean, in a way, every time we pick up something creative, we're doing it. We're among other people. At some point, it's going to connect or it's not.
Right.
You know, and that goal you have, I love that.
And I know it's scary.
It should be.
People are scared to be vulnerable and really get to know somebody or love somebody, and that's okay that it's scary, but like, you have to, I think music can help people get over that fear a little bit.
Yes. Well, so, before we go, do you want to, any last words, anything you want to say, share?
Follow me on Instagram at Cait Leow Music. And
CaitLeow
music, exactly. Anything else I want to say? Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
I've been looking forward to it for weeks.
Yeah, I was so pumped to have you on here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm honored that you thought about me
and everyone that's listening.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah, follow me on Instagram. Don't ever don't ever hesitate to reach out. Like, I love hearing people's stories. I try to emphasize that too. Like, my email address through my website is hello@caitleowmusic.com.
Oh, I love that.
Like, just,
that's awesome.
if you want to tell me your story, I mean, that's how I like to write music or whatever. It's like storytelling. So if you have something to say, or you don't feel like you can talk to anybody else, you can always talk to me. So you can reach out to me on social media. Also, if you are really into inappropriate drunk comedy, Drunk Downton, and you like period dramas.
That show should pay you to to do it, because you're gonna get more people listening to it.
I mean, maybe. It. Well, the movie is coming out this year.
There you go. You have to do.
So that's why we're doing the podcast. Nice. Well, that's why we're doing the podcast, to like, if you're gonna re-binge Downton Abbey in preparation for the movie, you might as well binge it with us. Two drunk chicks. Two super drunk chicks.
Oh, I love it.
The episode 2 episodes ago, we were like
blackout.
I mean, that was when we should have re-recorded, because afterwards I was like, we barely got into any of the content we were supposed to get into, but that's okay. That's what the Facebook group is for. So join the community if you want. But that's it.
Well,
for
Cait
me.
Leow in the studio corner.
Thank you so much, Haig. I was happy to be here.
All right. Peace out.
Peace out.